So today Boris Johnson released a video announcing the UK-Australia free trade deal, and yeah, it's really quite spectacular.
Hi folks, I'm absolutely thrilled today to be inaugurating the UK-Australia, Australia-UK free trade agreement talks. And it's quite extraordinary to think of all the things that we trade with each other already, even without a free trade deal. So we import colossal quantities of absolutely delicious Australian wine. We export all kinds of things, including, I was amazed to discover boomerangs made in the UK, exported to Australia. I don't think they come back, but we send them to Australia.
Imports of delicious Australian wine and exports of boomerangs. All this in the face of a no-deal Brexit, where Germany is saying that they're going to start to prepare for no deal 2.0. And this is all that Johnson has to show for it. Imports of delicious Australian wine and exports of boomerangs. You know, and another thing I really take issue with here as well is how utterly out of touch this is with the average, person in Britain. Like, this is so radically far out of touch from most people's experiences. I mean, how many people can afford Australian wine anyway? And given the current climate in this country and given the current direction of how things are going for people economically, I think the last thing on people's minds is access to Australian wine at a decent price because of, improved tariffs between Australia and the UK. This is just completely insulting and really out of touch.
And think of the potential that we have. I want a world in which we send you Marmite, you send us Vegemite, we send you penguins, and you send us, with reduced tariffs, these wonderful Arnott's Tim Tams. How long can the British people be deprived of the opportunity to have Arnott's Tim Tams at a reasonable price?
It just gets better, doesn't it? Tim Tams at a reasonable price. Again, when we're facing the very real possibility of a no-deal Brexit and all of the consequences that entails, Boris Johnson is parading around, touting this trade deal that he's, going to do with Australia, where we'll have, a seemingly endless supply of delicious Australian wine and Tim Tams. How condescending, and how completely ridiculous is this? When we're facing food shortages from, a disruption in our food supply from the EU, Boris Johnson is talking about imports of Tim Tams and delicious Australian wine. This is completely ridiculous. Especially when you put this into context, everything that this government has done, or, to put it more precisely, not done, in the last 6 months with the coronavirus crisis. And we are now hurtling towards another crisis with the very real possibility of a no-deal Brexit. And he is talking about this. I mean, this really is completely unbelievable. It's like something out of some sort of political satire program or something. It's just, you couldn't write this in a book. You really couldn't.
There is a huge amount that we can do, whether it's on financial services or across all the sectors of our free trade agreement. We share a language, we share a head of state. We're united by so much already. Let's get this free trade agreement done. Australia and the UK coming closer together than ever before.
That's what Boris Johnson has to say in the face of yet another collapse in the EU-UK trade negotiations, parading around with this supposed victory of an Australian-UK trade deal where we can import unlimited quantities of delicious Australian wine and Tim Tams.